Hello, this is Tony Myers on the Charisma Podcast Network, and this is Pushing Boundaries, Living Supernaturally. Every one of these podcasts are created to guide you to acknowledge your full healing. By his wounds, you were healed. So I want you to live that out. We aren't to live a life plagued by illnesses or injuries, but we are to live our lives with a healthy body. Moses, at 120 years old, had keen eyesight and strong muscles under the old covenant. We can attain that as well under the blood covenant of Christ. Today's episode is no different, but before I introduce today's topic, I want you to write down a miracle you've experienced in your own body. Do it right now. Every one of us has experienced a miracle at one time. Remember the miracle. Now, write down a specific area of your body you need a miracle. Then say to yourself, Jesus healed that, so I am healed of this. Send me an email at tonyjustbelieves@gmail.com with your miracle request, and I will speak life over that need. Today's topic, just like in episode number 80, it comes from an email. Is there a reason for sickness? We're going to talk about that today. Did God ordain a reason for sickness to be in this world? Right away, let me answer that right off the get-go, right off the bat. And that the answer to this is Romans 5:12. It really gives the whole answer in one sentence. Sickness was never God ordained. Ever. There is no godly reason. God does not make people sick. That is not in his nature at all. So, why did sickness enter this world? Romans 5:12. Listen and hear. Hear first. Hear the sound of my voice. Listen to what it is saying. When Adam sinned, sin entered the world. Adam's sin brought death. So death spread to everyone, for everyone sinned. Stop right there. Sin entered the world because of Adam's sin. With sin came death, encapsulated in sin, which sin amounts to evil was added. Man became dualistically minded. There became good and evil because a man's thinking changed. So sin and death was an integral part of sin, the fallen mindset, evil added into creation within death is sickness. Sickness came into this world because of man's duplicity, because evil was introduced to man's thoughts. God did not create sickness, did not want sickness, advised against it. It came because it was all carried within the sphere of sin, of evil, death, and all the causes thereof death. Is there some godly purpose to sickness? Absolutely no way, Jose. Not at all. When God looked at everything and it was good, then evil was introduced to man by their choice, by their decision. Then death and sickness came into this world. There is no purpose for it that is godly whatsoever. Now, having said all that, I'll say all this. People will use scriptures to say, oh, but see, there was a purpose here. Now we're going to look at John 9, the first few verses. This is the man born blind. This is one of the scriptures people use to say, oh, God gave that person blindness so that Jesus could do the miraculous. That is not what this is saying. All right, let's take a look at this. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? It was not because of his sins or his parents' sins. Jesus answered, this happened so the power of God could be seen in him. Now, the way people hear that, God made him blind so Jesus could heal him. That's against God's nature. Once again, we are told why sin entered the world. Now, the Jews believed that birth defects was a direct punishment from God. That is why his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Whose sin was it? Because God caused this man to be born blind. Now, while they're saying this, hello, he was born blind. How did the man sin in the womb? Okay? Or his parents sin. And once again, now we know why sin entered the world. Or excuse me, sickness entered the world. And that was because of the original sin. Because the original sin carried death and all its causes. That's why there is deformities and everything. Now, Jesus took care of all that. We're still seeing it because we're still believing it. We don't believe Jesus took care of it. So his answer does not mean that God made him blind. He did not. Once again, that is totally the opposite of God's very nature. God is not the one who causes or allows sickness. That is totally separate from his nature. But it's this verse and other verses. There's 3 other verses that are like this that says words to the same effect. What people don't realize is that being born blind, birth defects, was one of the messianic miracles, because the Jews believed that anything that was from God could only be healed through the Messiah, the Son of God. That's what they taught. That's what they believed. There were 4 of them. That was birth defects, leprosy, the deaf-mute spirit, and then raising the dead after 3 days. And in those cases, that's where this is used, so the Son of Man or the Son of God would be glorified. But that was the reason it would be glorified, because of the Jewish belief. And then Jesus healed them, which proved he was who he said he was. That's the whole reason. And once again, this is what the Jews believed. Now, it was true that these 4 miracles were set aside for the Messiah, but that's based upon what the Jews believed. So, did God cause that specific person, that specific man, to be born blind? No, he did not. Now, I am quite sure that he was situated in that time so that it could be healed, absolutely. But was God the cause? Was it God ordained for that man, that specific man, to be born blind? No, not at all. God does not send sickness to people. God does not allow it. Once again, let's point to the Lord's Prayer. On earth as it is in heaven. If God allowed sickness on the earth for a purpose, then he would allow sickness in heaven for a purpose. God is the same. He doesn't change like men change. He's the same. So if he is the one allowing sickness on the earth, then he would allow sickness on the heavens. I want you to get a firm grasp on this. It is not God that sends sickness. God did not create sickness. That came because of a choice that Adam and Eve made. That is what introduced death into this world, not by God's choice. So there is no godly reason that he allows sickness. And in fact, all throughout scriptures, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Lord boldly proclaims he is the healer. Now, in the Old Testament, you'll find places that state that he brings life and death, but that was the writer's perception, not the truth. All who have come before me were thieves and robbers. Remember that verse? All who have come before me were thieves and robbers. I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. I and the Father are one. I do only that which I see him doing. You do not see Jesus being the cause of anyone's sickness. That means God ain't doing it either. Man before Jesus had the wrong perception of God, and they saw him as both good and evil. Moses saw God as both good and evil. Jesus shows us the exact opposite. So God he is not the one allowing the sickness. It's our mindset, it's our beliefs that allows sickness on this earth, not his. It is the functional truth we are walking in that allows it, not God. God had the answer while he was framing the world. In the foundation of the world, because time to God as we have it on this earth is not that way. It's not linear. The solution, since the foundation of the world was already put out and available. I know that's a hard thing to sink your teeth into, but it's the truth. It was always available since day one. We didn't see it that way until Jesus, and even with Jesus, most of us refuse to believe it. Because we think where there is life, there has to be death. We think where there is good, there has to be evil. That's the way mankind thinks, not God. God saw everything he created and it was good. So then, why are innocent babies born sick? That is because while they're in the womb, this natural earth, this physical earth, and the wrong beliefs reach that baby in the womb. That is why. Not because God's allowing it. God does not say, oh, this baby is going to be born this way and this baby is going to be born this way. It's the 9 months in the womb where the baby is hearing the evil, soaking it in, and that's what's happening. I want to make this perfectly clear because this is one of those things that just totally aggravate me when I hear men of God teaching that God allows it. And even worse than that is when I hear, well, God caused me to have a motorcycle accident so that there'd be steel placed in my body, and then somebody would shoot me, and then that bullet would bounce off. So he caused a motorcycle accident for a future good use. Nonsense. That is utter nonsense. This is how we rationalize it. This is how, and the reason why we keep experiencing evil on this earth, because we don't believe that Jesus made everything right again. Why is there sickness? Because we still believe there is evil on this earth. And there is evil on the earth because the evil that's in men's hearts. when we come to experience the spiritual truth, not the functional truth that most of us walk in, then we will see more and more blessings. Then God's glory gets spread. So God is not the one that allows sickness. Man is. We are humankind. He doesn't make anyone sick. It's the world and its beliefs that causes sickness. It's our beliefs. It is not something he wants for his children. It's not something he desires for his children. And he absolutely will not put it on his children. Be blessed. Be healed. And be a blessing. Thank you for watching my channel. Now, hit the subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Click that bell. There you go. Click it. All right. Good. Write a comment. If you would like prayer, write a comment for prayer. Give me some feedback. What about this teaching helped you? What didn't help you? Now, if you would like to partner with Outside the Four Walls Ministry, my ministry, then simply go to TonyBelieves.com. And we appreciate you wanting to partner with us to reach the lost and see everyone healed. Thank you, Jesus. Be blessed, be healed, and be a blessing.